Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New Jersey International Film Festival Q&A session. And I forgot to ask Marieli if I'm pronouncing her name correctly.
Marieli.
Marieli.
Yeah.
Marieli Froehlich is here today to talk about her wonderful experimental short film called Stop, which we will be showing as part of an experimental film program on June 11th as part of the 26th Annual New Jersey International Film Festival. We received over 540 works from around the world, and we will be presenting 25 of them, the creme de la creme, to our audiences on video on demand. It will be a virtual film festival. We're hoping this will be the last one, since it looks like here in New Jersey, things are starting to open up. But unfortunately, this festival, which takes place between June 4th and 13th, will be virtual. And we will be using Eventive as our streaming platform. They do a masterful job streaming films. We've used them for the last few festivals that we've run, and we had no technical issues. We're very happy about that. So the way that the festival will work, the films will be on demand for an entire day. So you want to start watching at 12:01 on June 11th in the morning, you have 24 hours to complete watching. Let's say you're a late night person and you want to start watching at 11:45, which I think is the latest you can start watching. You still have 24 hours to complete watching. So I will mention to you how to get there, and I'll do a screen share at the end of the Q&A. But if you want a quick and dirty way to find our schedule, you go to njfilmfest.com and click on where it says Summer 2021 Schedule, and there'll be another prompt for you to click to get to our Eventive page. But anyway, welcome. I wanted to say thank you so much for doing this. You're joining us from Paris, which is one of my favorite cities.
I'm really happy. Thank you. And I'm really happy to be included in your selection. Yeah, so.
Well, tell us, how did you get involved in making Stop? Which is a film, it's a very meditational film, I must say.
Yeah, well, I think it was out of a personal situation. So I was in the midst of losing some people, but also I found, it started basically 15 years ago. So it's maybe something that falls into place now, also with COVID, or with things that people are experiencing right now, or maybe looking for, or But basically, the idea started in the metro in Paris, actually. And I saw a little child who actually robbed me later. It was
my God.
Yes. And he was like checking me out, and then he was standing while the metro was going with his eyes closed, and he seemed to be in total, I don't know, he stepped out of his little circle and he was somewhere else. And so that inspired me, and because it's not the sleep that is inspiring, it's basically when you on purpose or purposely, can you say that?
Yeah.
Just stop thinking, stop doing something, just, go in a certain state of maybe not even meditation, but just bring it to a height, Or sometimes I might not find the right words in English.
That's okay. Your English is perfect. So.
Merci. And so this is how it started. Then later, well, this is just another story. So basically, he was a child thief.
Yeah,
and
he's a Roma. They're all the Roma kids. They roam around.
Yes, and they do it in Paris because they know that they cannot bust the children, and they get really beaten up if they don't bring results. So
right.
I was, of course, sad and angry because there was a lot of money accidentally in my purse. But anyway, that happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether he did that on purpose on the metro, but it looked like a complete relaxation of his face, and of his mind was somewhere else. And so I started to take pictures, but just photos. And later I started to record people, but I had no actual program in mind. So what I'm doing is I had no actual project in mind, sorry. So what I'm doing is I just walk in the street, and if somebody, I don't know, catches my attention, I ask the person whether they would like to stand for me, like maybe altogether it takes 10 minutes. And so I started to do this with a photo camera, with a 5D Canon, and later even with my phone. But this was over a long period of time where I stopped and I restarted, and I had this little collection. And then, you know, I cannot even explain. It was like collecting situations or moments of time of people. So that later it became an entire little philosophy. And then I edited the piece, of course, and there is a lot more than there is in this film. And I might have to say it's an ongoing project, which means it's not, this is just an excerpt of a huge project. There will be a website, and later people will be able to upload their own video. And there is a plan with a museum. It's not totally confirmed now, so I will not say it where, but it's basically 80% sure. They will make a huge installation with the different shots projected at the same time running. And there might be also an installation with people standing there doing it. And when you are in the middle of this round film projection, you should have the feeling that the entire world is contemplating at the same time. But of course, I will come to that later. This kind of time is just an illusion. It doesn't exist. Right. So I'm kind of stealing and doing something which doesn't exist while the real, so-called real time is passing.
By.
But there's a lot of like themes. It's not the right word, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going to ask you about the selection of subjects. That was you kind of answered that is it a random selection?
Totally random.
Okay.
I go in the streets. I might plan. It's not always planned, but sometimes I plan a day because I am somewhere, like in South America or wherever. Or, you know that you have to leave, and so you plan it for a day. And then it's like a wild cast, if you want. And I see people that catch my attention for whatever reason. It's very personal. And then I just ask them. So most of the time, let's say 99%, they do it. And sometimes they are really stressed, and I ask them on purpose because, for example, they come from a meeting or, it's in front of the UN building or whatever. And first they say, oh no, I have no time. And I say, it's just 10 minutes and I'll talk you through, and it'll refresh your mind, and you will see it's a nice experience. So basically you have the recording, but you also have the moment when it happens, meaning between me and the person. And it's, first of all, it's beautiful because they trust me. A person that closes their eyes or her eyes, she drops or he drops every kind of attitude, because when you close your eyes, the attitude is gone, it has to go. And when I say relax and relax your face and all the things I say, mostly after 1 minute, you can see kind of how their face is relaxing. You can even see that, and they confirm it later, they need like 1 or 2 minutes, and then their mind is kind of it's, in a way, it's released, or it's free, or it's it's not caught on a certain thing or thought or place, and that is a very beautiful moment, because it means a person that I don't know and they don't know me, they trust me on that.
Well, we need to let the audience know that your film is basically documenting people who have close their eyes. There are some exceptions at the beginning and the end of your film.
Yeah.
But we're mostly seeing people meditating or, you know, in a kind of trance while
Yes.
you document them. So they are not seeing what you're doing in a way. I mean,
No.
and it's documenting this event. And we get to, how many people are actually in this film? I mean, your film is about 20,
I
25
think it's
minutes, right?
100.
100,
Yeah.
great. And I wanted to ask you about the time frame. So you said you started this 15 years ago, at least that was the genesis of the idea.
Yeah.
But when did you actually start to document folks? And
2019, sorry.
yeah.
I started to edit. I thought, okay, now I just had the feeling it's enough of collecting. You know, you get a bit greedy. It's like collecting gems. So you go into the street and you say, this one I would like to record, that one, her, him, the child. So you're ending up with all these bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, now I would like them to unite and I would like to edit it all together. And of course you don't take everybody, but I made a little selection to make it like, you know, really to have different places. And so, and then a friend of mine, she said, so why don't you send it to a film festival? And then, yeah, another friend, they are running this Human World Film Festival in Vienna. And then they, I showed it to them and they loved it. And so they took it for their own campaign for this year and they borrowed my title of the film as a theme for their film festival. And the pictures of the movie were on the posters in the entire city. So that was quite beautiful. Yeah. And then, okay, then I sent it to other film festivals, but also a bit without a plan, like here and there. So it was, in a way, it is ambitious, but on the other hand, it wasn't ambitious in the distribution, right. Kind of. And it came by itself. Somehow it was like the exact time to release it, because people that saw it were like, they loved it and they said, you know, it represents something that they feel they wanted, and there is a need for that, and globally as well, because there's so much noise and distraction and misunderstandings and whatever.
It's a very peaceful film. I mean, I wanted to ask you, there's only 2 close-ups in your film, and again, at the beginning and at the end. The predominant shot that we see in your film is a long shot, or sometimes a medium shot. Yeah. Was that conscious? Did you want to keep somewhat of a distance most of the time?
Yeah, I kind of liked that. But also what I liked to show is that these people, because it's obvious what they do, so why jump on them so much? It's what I wanted to show as well is the rest of the world, which is, you know, it turns without them in a way, and that's also part of the idea.
Well, I mean, what I really liked was the selection of backgrounds with the folks in the foreground. And you know, sometimes everything is still, foreground and background. Yeah. But at the same time, while they are unaware, there is an activity taking place behind them. And I wrote a number of them down, where you have a figure in front of a series of where there's a bell that's ringing. We don't hear the bell. Yeah. But yet there, I mean, I liked, you worked with an editor, and the editing is really, really great because it creates a flow that's very seamless. And we move from one location, from South America to New York, or to, you know, wherever, Europe. Yeah. And I like that very much. But was there a plan with who was going to follow who?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I work with an editor, but I have a very precise idea of what I want to edit, how long, and where it has to be. Yeah. So it was kind of I tried a little bit a balance between male and female, city and more rural, maybe also to mix the so-called class or first and third world. This is a very arrogant expression, but to explain it. So I tried to have a nice balance, a nice mix. But in the end, it was just, okay, her. I work very spontaneously. And that I love it also because it leaves you space, you know. I do plan things, but then within this planning, I want as much freedom and for things that occur as possible. So that was that. And of course, what it also shows when you have this selection is that in this moment, all these things don't matter. So like gender, race, whatever you call it, it all doesn't matter anymore. And it's a huge, compared to religion, for example, it's a huge uniting thing, because religion is always dividing, and it's meant to be, and it has to be, otherwise people couldn't stay close in this bubble that they are in. Yeah? And so what I wanted to do is get out of the bubble and, you know, include it. It's an inclusion thing, if you want.
I mean, it's a very harmonious film, kind of bridging peoples together through a common action, and I really like that aspect of your film too. I mean, is there a drone soundtrack to the film?
Well, there is a soundtrack. It was kind of I had it silent because I didn't want music, of course, or something. But and I tried the original sounds, but that doesn't work with if you show somebody 10 seconds and then I would sometimes talk with them.
It would create its own noise. It would create
and I mean, it ends up very, it does the opposite of what I would like to achieve, you know, which is like calming. And so what I did is a kind of atmospheric, it's a mix of atmospheres that I recorded. So it has a bit something airy and
very ambient,
but it's basically something natural. It's not electronic. And so again, it was like mixing the breaths or something like that.
I mean, I think it flows very nicely as a result, and I could see that if you did include the natural sound, it would be too cacophonic, and that would defeat the purpose of what you're about.
I tried it, and it was like you couldn't watch it. It wasn't even interesting, you know.
It would be interesting to see what it was like as a kind of counterpoint to what you were doing on the one hand. But I had written down, these were all, most of the documents of these people was pre-COVID, correct?
There was no COVID.
No COVID yet. Okay.
Not yet. And I mean, in a way, it's like, it's a bit like a prophecy, or I don't know. It falls in. It really falls well into place when COVID.
I mean, it's a subtle way of how we're in our own little bubbles now because of COVID, you know.
So it seems the indoors is the new outdoors, and the inside is the new outside. And so basically, what I'm doing is bringing people together. But
Well, I thought the other thing is each one of these things is like a painting. A little moving painting. And I also thought of Warhol's portraits or screen tests. You know, but somehow these let you into the person more so than the Warhol screen tests, because they're aware of the camera, whereas in your film, they're aware of the camera, but they can't see it.
They forget about it.
They forget about it.
I mean, sure. I mean, Warhol was, you know, he did great things, and of course I saw them, but it was not about copying the idea or something. I think it's something really that stands for itself. And
No, I think your film is quite different because the background is just as important as the subject. I felt. I mean, you obviously selected the angle, the shot. I mean, some people are straight on, some people are off to the side, some people are in medium shot, some people are in a long shot. There are a number of scenes where we see two people together. It's not just one person. They're couples. So I think the variety of the types of shots and the flow that you get vis-a-vis the images that we see is really stunning. And you know, nothing like Warhol's very dry and very sterile almost backgrounds that you have in his
Yeah.
in his movies. So.
I think I do this out of a feeling. When I see somebody somewhere, it has to be really quick. So I just quickly choose the framing. I mean, I worked together with my son.
Yeah.
Who
I was going to ask you who the other Froehlich was in there.
Yes, that's my son. And parts, I shot them, a lot of parts he shot them, because when I talk to them, it's convenient, you know, if we are two. But yeah, the background is important, because basically it reminds you all the time that they are kind of leaving this background for a short period of time. Yeah. And with the couples, that is also, it was I mean, it can be a philosophical thought when you go into science, that people say we have like two brain halves, and if we have a thought which is now, they are kind of shooting in a very quick time. And so do we really have one self, or are we two selves? Or you know, if you look at birds or fish, when they go all together, I think when you are in a couple, you're starting to kind of, you know, connect your thoughts, or twins, for example. And so, or 5,000 Japanese that cross a street without bumping into each other. So there is something which, you know, we are, I suppose we are a single brain, but then we are not again. Yeah. And that is something that maybe is used by religions as well. You know.
Yeah, kind of oneness that you develop with the other.
So that's why I didn't mind to have couples. And
no, I think it added to, there's a variety that way, and and I think you did great. If everybody was right in the middle, it's the same type of shot, it would not have the same.
No, it's a bit boring, because it looks like a concept then. But there is, of course, a concept, but that's one thought, and then there is a lot of thoughts beneath, and so that is the concept, but not, I didn't want to have a strict visual concept, only that the person does what she does, or her, or he, you know. And then you know, it's also, I'm playing with time, of course, because when you, how should I start this? If you would record a person like an indigenous in the Amazonas, for example, that has never been recorded and doesn't know what a phone is, for example, and you would record him and then play it for this person, he or she would think that this is time traveling, because what you can do is go back and forth while the real time is happening. That's a very interesting thing. And that's a totally new thing in evolution. It only exists since photography. Okay, you catch a moment in photography. Then you did film recordings. But with our electronic devices, you do even more, because while you carry this device, you can go back and forth with the things that you recorded. So basically, if people talk about past and present, and this theory that time doesn't exist and it exists at the same time, actually, yes. If you use your device and you go back and forth with a recording that you just did, it's at the same, it exists parallel, the past and the future, you know?
Yeah, it's a kind of spontaneity of the present.
Yes, and the present, as we know, doesn't exist, because it's a nanosecond. It's a nanosecond. So the now exists for a nanosecond, and then there is already past and future, you know? It's like a quick transition between past and future. A present per se, I don't think we can even understand it in the quickness that it happens. So that's also the interesting thing, that you because children always want that something stays the same.
Yeah.
Things should not change. They have at least I was like that. Of course, you want variety, but in the end, you want a stable situation.
And old people too. I mean,
And all people, yeah.
they
And
don't
so,
want to change. They don't want to learn about the phone. You're
yeah,
like,
but
come
this is
on.
what is happening.
Yeah.
Every second, every million of a second, change is happening. And it'll be never like before. And we don't know how it will be in the future. We might know a little bit, but in fact, no. And so what we do with recordings, it's kind of, we keep something, but we also play with time. And that is, I think it's a really interesting thought. And in this project, when they kind of step out of this, perception of or illusion of time, past, future, whatever,
Yeah.
and kind of are in the present and in the now,
Yeah.
it's something that I collect for them as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if this makes sense to you.
No, it makes perfect sense. It's
Yeah.
it's a document of the past that you can share in the future.
Yeah, if you want.
There is no present. I mean, the present is gone. So it's either one or the other.
Yeah, it's already gone.
And you have just the present at that.
Yes.
Well, this was a very wonderful conversation. I want to thank you so much for doing it. But let's just share the screen a second and show folks how they can purchase tickets. Let me do this first, and then we go this way. Okay, so the way that folks would eventually go to buy tickets is that they would go to njfilmfest.com, and we have it on the screen here as I'm circling it. You would then go to where it says New Jersey International Film Festival Summer 2020 schedule and click on that. Normally our schedule would be here, but because we're using Eventive, we set it up there because it's easier to have everything on one platform. So when you get to this page, which only has this information here, you would click on this link, which will send you to the catalog page. And as you scroll down, you will get to the experimental section. And here's a very beautiful image from Marieli's film. And it will be playing with Frank Stone, Amphibians, My Strange Loop, and Sometimes Sin, which is a long title, but it's a very beautiful series of films that deal with challenging perception. And Marieli's film is part of it. And this is one of the images. So if you would like to purchase tickets, you would click on here and you would be able to get access. If you wanted to explore our site, you would normally come to the welcome page and you could see that the schedule is also available in a linear way. So you can have the descriptions in front of you rather than having to click. This is the section on the experimental film, and here's the description of your film here. So there's all sorts of ways to explore our site, and tickets are $12. You're helping nonprofit organization like us. We're not here to make money. We're here to share wonderful films, and this is the way that you can purchase tickets for the screenings. Now, the way that it will work is that the experimental film program is on Friday, June 11th, and folks in the United States on the Eastern Seaboard can start watching at 12:01, so right after midnight. But since you're in Paris, for example, you could actually start watching on Thursday evening. And so the thing is with video on demand that the films will be available for 24 hours once you start watching. So if you started watching here in New Jersey on Friday evening at 11:45, you still have 24 hours to finish watching the program. It's a great deal, and it's wonderful to see challenging films. And I'm gonna stop sharing now for a second so I can say goodbye to you.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank you so much for doing this, and we are so proud to be able to share your film, and we look forward to the magnum opus version that you will finish.
I'm really happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much too. Thank you.
Yeah.